What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the TJ Bowser Power Hour. This is your host with the motherfucking most, TJ Bowser. And it's been a while since I talked to you guys last, and I apologize for the little break of content there, but we are back full force now, and we got a whole slew of episodes lined up for you, and we got one hell of a banger to start it off. So we got Brandon Lane from Wrestling Ruin and Rants from the Black Lodge. I'll pop him up here. What's up, Brandon?
I'm the free will burning, head turning, ass kicking, machismo dripping master podcast and mouthpiece of the Southeast, Brandon A. Lane, host of the Rants from the Black Lodge podcast, mere meager member of ProjectLouder.net podcast network, and one of the commentary team of Wrestling Ruin. And I am very excited to be playing second banana to the lady arouser himself, Mr. TJ Bowser.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah, we haven't been graced with an intro like yours in a while, so that was fucking awesome.
Appreciate
fucking
that.
So we're doing a little series called Oh for the Love of Film, and we're going to talk about our movie collections and some of the films that we enjoy. So you have some stuff prepared for us, and our first question is some of our top 10 physical releases in your collection. Brandon, let's start off with number 10.
I didn't exactly put mine in rank of order, so these could really fall just about anywhere. And my criteria, first of all, for deciding what I added to this list is when you're a physical collector, you want something that has really cool packaging.
Yes.
Or great special features. So I think I've collaborated all my ideas into a very truncated list I think will be applicable for all of those. But I'm going to start out with one that's kind of breaking the rules because I'm going to double up. And it's just because I couldn't decide which one over the other. But I have Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2, the Anchor Bay DVD Book of the Dead editions. And I know there's an army of darkness floating around out there, but I've never been able to find it. I got this, actually, this one. The day I graduated high school, I took the money that, like everybody gave me for graduating high school, and I picked this up. And I picked this one up several years later, and it used to make noise when you'd press the eye, and unfortunately it's just it's seen better days. But these have been in my collection for almost 20 years, and they're in pretty good condition considering. And I know these kind of go for a little bit, but they're just so cool. The artwork on the inside, having the really cool Book of the Dead stuff. It's just,
That's so cool.
Anchor Bay prostituted Evil Dead back in the day.
Yeah.
So many of these editions, but as far as like DVD releases, which I also have these on VHS and on Blu-ray because I just can't help myself, but I find myself very partial in just popping these out from time to time. So
too cool. That is way too cool. I've actually never seen those before. Wow. That's a cool addition of those. Anchor Bay did those. They're definitely not doing it nowadays. No way.
I mean, there was a time when Anchor Bay was putting out like 2 editions of Evil Dead Part 1 every year, and I'm not exaggerating. 10 cases and special like snap, like clear plastic cases and the regular jewel cases. It was overkill, but they knocked it out of the park with that edition.
Hell yeah! So what's the next one?
Next one, okay. So I had to include a little bit of wrestling in here. And so this is one of my original copies. I've had this since I was a kid back in 1992. I was in 2nd grade, but we have the WWF Royal Rumble 1992. This not only has cool packaging, but this was a significant moment in my life because growing up in the South, I was always a JCP, NWA, WCW guy.
Yes.
Well, this was around the time I started paying attention to the WWF a little more regularly. I love the Macho Man, but having my man, Nature Boy Ric Flair, and he won the championship at this event. The cool thing about these big WWF boxes back in the day, if you'll notice, I don't have the inserts anymore, unfortunately. The thing's, 30 years old. But there would be like a keychain or a keepsake in here.
Oh, okay.
And then in the spine, there would be a rolled up poster. Man, I wish I still had those because I could be sitting on a gold mine if I did. But this is it's just a cool piece of artwork. You don't see this level of dedication put into things anymore. Everything's photoshopped. And I mean, I have a degree in graphic design, but this is a little above my pay grade. I couldn't draw to save my life. And so I'm envious of anybody that can draw. Actually, shout out to Corey Kaufman, who just gave Rance a brand new piece of awesome artwork. And, so I feel a little more in line with stuff like this. This was the hallmark of, the VHS days. You go to a store, you saw these things, and you just had to know what was going on the tape. So Royal Rumble 1992. That would be my next addition to the collection. Now,
yes.
Continue.
What is this? Not necessarily ranked, but your 8th pick. What is this one?
Sentimentality goes along with it. And but at the same time, I am a big lover of so bad it's good. I have a huge collection of really bad movies, The Giant Claw, most of Ed Wood's films. And these days, it's all about Tommy Wiseau. So I have a autographed copy of the masterpiece that is The Room. And if I can get it in here. Love Tommy Wiseau from back in
yes.
2017.
That is
What's
excellent.
great about this is not only is the Blu-ray autographed, but there is an insert. And my friend, this is, aside from all the wrestling things I have, this may be the most homoerotic thing in my collection. We have a 5x7 autographed picture from Tommy Wiseau. Love is blind. Seriously, if those of you who have never seen this movie, it lives up to the hype. This is a drinking game delight. Like if you play the rules, every time there's a picture of a spoon, take a shot. I mean, you'll be 6 sheets to the wind like 5 minutes in, and then you'll be playing, the puke game probably by the end of the night. Moving on.
Yes.
This is actually the first Blu-ray I ever purchased, and that would be the 5-disc edition of Blade Runner. Specifically, I had to get a PS4 because I really wanted a Blu-ray player when they first came out, and unfortunately, I was a little short on cash, so I was like, if I need to double up on a game system to kind of bridge the gap. So I got this the same day. The Pac-In movie was Spider-Man 3, and I cannot tell you how disappointing that was. So my hands on this was just a wonderful, wonderful thing. Ridley Scott, terrific director. But the thing that makes this worth having is that you're getting all of the different incarnations of the film, the work print, the final edition. I prefer the theatrical cut. I love the narration. But there is an amazing documentary on here called Dangerous Days. And it just chronicles how big a pain in the ass this was as far as making film. Now, I've never made a film. I've worked on short films and things like that. I know how so many things can go wrong over time, but this is a next level case of perfection. I think Kubrick would have been in envy of the lengths that they went to make this movie as cinematically perfect as it is. So Blade Runner is not only a great film, but this is just a definitive edition. So you pretty much recovering all the bases. Gotta love Harrison Ford. Gotta love Harrison Ford. All right. I like to keep up with what's going on, more contemporarily. I mean, a lot of my collection is just old school stuff because it's stuff I grew up with, and you have the kindness of time to kind of keep you into things longer, but every once in a while you want to check out something new. So I tried to be have a little bit of variety. This is my favorite movie of the past 10 years. It's a Canadian film called Turbo Kid.
Yes.
I absolutely love this film. Michael Ironside plays a menacing villain. And this is like Mad Max with a dirt bike.
Yeah.
And there's this young lady right here is an android, and she's very attractive, and I feel weird about that. But I love this movie so much. When I first saw this,
production design on that film is incredible.
From beginning to end, the use of the budget to elevate it, and some people might see some of the things in here as kind of hokey, but I think it adds a lot to the charm of it. But the first time I saw this film, I was a little bit of a preface. I used to work in the media. I worked in the newspaper business for like over a decade. And a guy I worked with got a screener copy of this sent to him. And he's like, hey, man, you got to check this out. So I kind of sat on it for a couple of days. I'm thinking, like, how good could it be? And boy, was I mistaken. This is my favorite movie of the past 10 years. And I've probably seen this movie 20 times now. And actually, one of my great hopes is we have a really awesome local here in Tennessee, like kind of an art house, second run cult movie theater called Central Cinema. Shout out to them. And we're really hoping I can twist their arm into showing this, because it's kind of on my bucket list. I have to see Turbo Kid in the theater. So this is a high recommendation for me. And it's just got cool packaging. I know I kind of harp on that, but just having
side-loaded slipcover.
Exactly. And this is loaded with
what a fold out.
So much special features. I mean, there's 3 discs. I mean, one's a DVD, one's a Blu-ray, and then it's got a special feature disc, and there's just tons and tons of stuff. And when you're investing in film, to me, I feel like you're doing it for 2 reasons. You're doing it because it's a movie that you have to have in your collection.
That reminds me of that Second Sight Dawn of the Dead set that just came out not too long ago. Yeah.
I don't have that. I do have the DVD set from like 15 years ago. I have it on Blu-ray as well, but I don't have that fancy ass set. That's on my list. And speaking, and a little detour, but man, what about that trailer? What about that trailer for the amusement park? I'm so hyped for that. Big Romero fan.
Yes.
But, check out Turbo Kid if you've never seen it. This edition in particular, it's from a company called Epic. You can find their website, and I believe they're the same people who distributed To Hell and Back, the Kane Hodder documentary. So there's some good stuff on their website if you want to check them out. Free plug.
Fucking A.
Okay.
Yes, moving on.
And put into context, this one falls a little more into the packaging end of things, but
okay.
A few years ago, when I say a few years ago, like a decade ago, there was a series on Showtime called Masters of Horror. John Carpenter, Toby Hooper, on down the line. The first season is terrific. Almost every episode is amazing. You get that amazing Takashi Miike episode that was banned, that it's not even in the box set. You had to buy it separately. But then they released season 2, and it's not as good. But man, they nailed. There's another Anchor Bay. Another Anchor Bay set.
Hell?
Check this out. Oh, and the disc are on the inside. Now, there is one negative to this. Some of the episodes are single disc, and some of them are double disc. And when you're trying to get them out of here, you gotta have. Well, this one is that's another Michael Ironside episode, the V Word.
That's rad as hell.
When there used to be a really awesome shop locally called the Rhythm Section, and they had awesome things. And they're still there, but they've consolidated a lot of their things, and there's just they don't have things like this anymore. And I saw this, and I was like, I don't care how much it costs. I have to own this. So, it's the one thing that on the shelf like really stands out. Like people will peruse over here, and they'll come to the area where the skull is. Like, ooh, what's that? Masters of Horror, right? Let's watch that. And then I have to explain to them, like, well, it'll take us 20 minutes to figure out what episode you want to see, but the packaging is cool as shit. So check out Masters of Horror. The episodes are actually free right now on Tubi.
Oh, okay.
I think most of them. I'm not sure about the Dream Cruise and imprint episodes from Takashi Miike because they were banned, and they're awesome, by the way. If you haven't seen them, I'm a big Miike fan. All right.
Excellent.
And we're getting down to the nitty gritty. One of my, probably if you were going to make the case that I am a hipster, which I don't agree with, but if you're going to make the case for it, the most hipsterish thing about me is that I am a Laserdisc collector.
Okay, fair enough.
So I have a huge Laserdisc collection. Mm-hmm. But I've cherry picked specifically one because it's both in line with the horror aesthetic, but also.
Okay, but ask the question. Is it Carrie?
It is not. It is not.
Okay.
Carrie actually is my all-time favorite horror movie. But specifically, the reason I have chosen this is because this is the highest quality version you can get of this cut of the film. This is a Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Now, of the original 5, I would probably rank this at 5th. Yeah. Specifically because our buddy Mick Strawn didn't work on this one, obviously.
Yeah.
His sister did, though. But yes. this movie on VHS and on Laserdisc was released unrated. And there's a couple minutes of deleted.
That bike scene.
Oh, absolutely. With Danny Hassel just getting the shit rammed inside of him. It's very Cronenberg-esque. Spoiler alert. We'll talk about Cronenberg a little later on. But this is the highest quality version of this film you can get. Now, I've been working with a tech guy, and we have officially stripped the file off here, and we're cleaning it up. And we're just trying to find somebody who has a Blu-ray burner so we can burn it to Blu-ray, and I'll be offering those files for free because I'm not going to make money off of this. I feel like this is, if New Line isn't going to give us this movie at least on DVD unrated, I feel like somebody should. Shout Factory, Scream Factory, balls in your court. We'd love to have a nice Blu-ray set, but
I did see that Topaz is offering an enhanced visual thing that allows you to upscale audio files, and it runs like an artificial environment and cleans up everything. It's quite pricey, but I'm sure there's some other ways of acquiring it that are probably less, let's say, legal. But I have seen it in action, and if it got into the hands of people like us, we would not need a lot of these boutique people out there. Yeah. Let's say, some people are saying it takes a week, right?
Yeah.
One person with a workstation in a week's time who just was like, okay, I'm going to let it run. I'm going to walk away. And then wants to share that, especially stuff like that, like extended cuts that we will never see physical releases of, something like that. That's a perfect example. I mean, this is the gray area that, people like us collectors operate within whenever they don't provide us with ample. I'm
a big purveyor of the preservation of film.
Yes,
now, I just want to state this for the record. I am not personally a huge Zack Snyder fan, but I am overjoyed that the Snyder Cut got released because those people who weren't to see it, it's available to you and it's not lost to time. So that's a big win. Now, just recently, Scream Factory released an awesome 4K edition of Event Horizon. We want the Event Horizon cut. That's the holy grail of lost cuts, and as far as the forefront right now. But Laserdisc is awesome. The cool thing about Laserdisc is that aside from just having cool cover art, this isn't probably the best example of awesome cover art, but back before DVD, this was how you got special features. This is the Houdini music video, and who doesn't want to see that? I mean,
I was gonna say there is a version of Carrie that has a special commentary that's only special to the Laserdisc version of Carrie. And I was hearing,
it's on my dream list.
Okay.
I do not own it. I actually do know somebody who has a ripped version of it, but the syncing is a little off. So, I mean, I could probably fix that if the time and effort were to be put into play. But I just made a point to talk about Scream Factory, and I know this is something you've got, and this was a lifetime coming
Ah, yes.
The Friday the 13th Scream Factory box set,
Absolutely.
encapsulating all of the Friday the 13th films from Paramount and from Scream Factory. And I know a lot of the later films kind of get a bad rap, Jason X included. And I know we're both on the same page. Big defenders of Jason Goes to Hell. And
speaking of that, shout out to our friends Edwin Samuelson and Peter Brackey, who helped actually had a big hand in that box set right there. And Ed helped with the restoration. Well, not restoration, but the recovery of those lost scenes in part 2. He's directly responsible for finding the VHS tape of Alice's extended death scenes. So, like,
the day I got this,
yes,
I had to work that night. And my day job, for those of you who don't know, is I run a year-round haunted house. October is busy for me. I get this in October, and I'm like, I'm going to be a little late to work today because I have to watch part 2. And just seeing those new scenes was just absolutely amazing. And the booklet in here is just a nice addition. I love it anytime that they go to the trouble of talking about different aspects of the film. And I know this is sort of a truncated version of Crystal Lake Memories, which was written by Peter Brackey, which I also own. Amazing combination of, years of, collected works and, interviews and stuff. But it was, Paramount has always done a shitty job in preserving Friday the 13th, and all the box sets, I have them all except for the Blu-ray set that came out before this, because at that point I was so pissed off. I was like, I don't care. I don't even want it. But I actually had specifically ripped editions from other countries where each movie was available on its own, because I don't like those double discs sometimes.
Fuck that. Yeah.
I just want each movie getting its own, day in the sun. And especially Jason X, which that was only available, I want to say, in Germany. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to spend $100 for a German Blu-ray, but I'll spend over $100 for this entire set. So Friday the 13th fans, this is the pinnacle, and I'm assuming that eventually we're going to get a 4K set, and I'll be ponying up the money for that.
I will have to say, this is one of those situations where they scanned all these fucking films in 4K, I believe. And then they're like, okay, we're going to put the 2K scans on the 1080p discs, and we're going to release them. And then you guys are going to buy them either a year or 2 years from now. It's going to be the same thing.
Whatever, if as long as the attention to detail is there that they put into this set, they will absolutely get my money. For the most part, Scream Factory does an excellent job.
Have you checked out the coloring on part 6 yet?
I watched part 6 when I very first got the disc, but no, I didn't really notice.
Graveyard scenes are a little bit brighter. Yeah.
Now I'm going to have to pop it in and scrutinize it to death. I did get the replacement disc, and big ups to them on offering those, because my part 3 did have
all the fucking films, of all the films they could have messed up on. I popped the first disc in, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, something's weird. And I look over on Facebook and on the groups, and I'm like, oh, there is something weird about it. And all hell's breaking loose within like 48 hours. I'm like, oh God. There's no arm snap.
Let me pop out real quick.
Yeah.
I'll throw this one in as a bonus. Because this does have the arm snap.
Yes. And the open matte version.
The open matte. This is a high quality Blu-ray bootleg. I have actually a few of this company's outings, and as far as something that has not been mass produced, this is an absolute must have. So big shout out, Adam. Thank you for making this movie. I saw this at the drive-in as a kid. It scared the bejesus out of me. I love the part with the woman where she's naked for a long time. That was a big deal when I was in 3rd grade. So thank you so much. I got to be the envy of my classmates, all because of this film.
That movie, I feel, bridges the gap between Evil Dead and Friday the 13th so well, like feeling wise. It's just and there's some hidden in there, I guess.
I had Jack Shoulder on the podcast, and I didn't ask him while we were interviewing, but just in general conversation. I asked him if he was aware of the similarities, and he's like, "Yeah, I heard about it. I don't care. They can make their money. I made my money." So, Hidden's a great movie. Also worked on by a good money. Yes. Mick Strawn. So yes. Everything interconnects back to Mick.
It was funny when we approached Adam about that the first time. He described it as I kneeled down and Mick pushed him over me. But onward and upward. What's the next?
Okay. The namesake of this podcast being the Black Lodge, well, everybody who's in the know knows that is a Twin Peaks reference. Now, oddly enough, in the 4+ years of this podcast, we've never done a Twin Peaks episode. And that's an entirely different story in of itself, because when it happens, I feel like it's got to be so comprehensive and in depth, and I don't want to have to be perfect. Yes, it has to be perfect, because this is not something you can just casually talk about. There's so many ins and outs.
I agree.
But I waited my entire life, that cliffhanger. How's Annie? Where's Annie? And it happened. It happened again. Twin Peaks season 3.
Yes.
This is another instance of, like, Twin Peaks is not my all-time favorite show, but this is my favorite season of television of all time. I have never experienced this level of excitement. I'm not exaggerating. The 8th episode, I got cold sweats because I was like, what is happening? I just could not comprehend what was going on. But this is another instance where the packaging is just so interesting. And it was actually designed by David Lynch himself. So here you've got Evil Coop, and over here you've got regular Coop. And then in the middle, you've got Dougie Jones. So it opens up, and you've got those wonderful, Black Lodge chevrons, and all the discs are inside, and very minimal, but very clean. And David Lynch is such an interesting character in of himself.
Now, who dropped that? What company?
What company? I'm not exactly sure who released this off. Showtime produced it, but I want to say this is like a CBS release, because I think they own minority stake in them. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know David Lynch designed the actual packaging for it.
Fire Walk With Me is released via Criterion, I believe.
It is. I own that, and that was the holy grail for the longest time, because Fire Walk With Me was the sore spot of a lot of Twin Peaks fans, because after the show ended, you're thinking like, okay, we're going to get some resolution. Nah, David Lynch doesn't work that way. And the movie was, in its scope, was so broad that when it got edited down to a theatrical length, they left out so much stuff. And that's both narrative things and both sort of side character, just building the world up. So the benefit to the Criterion collection of Fire Walk With Me was that for the first time legally, we had all of these deleted scenes, and a lot of that stuff actually plays directly into this season, because this is a
Lynch.
This is a series that out Lynch's Lynch, if that makes sense, and it's very much in the vein of Fire Walk With Me. So if that's not your cup of tea, this season is probably not going to change your mind. But this is 2001 meets fucking Blue Velvet meets a Cronenberg body horror nightmare. This is everything that I love about comedy, horror, drama rolled into one, and a hell of a packaging. Before we move on from this, I watched this season religiously when it first came out, physical, because the whole thing about rewatching Twin Peaks is going and finding the details that you missed the first time. I got so obsessed with this that I actually took notes so detailed that I could write a book about this season. So one day there will be an episode of France dedicated to Twin Peaks, and probably specifically just this season. But time being the issue, this is like an 18-hour long movie, and how do you pare that down to like a 3-hour episode? It's just impossible. But this is the shit.
Audio tapes of you doing long rewatches of Twin Peaks on Rants After Dark. You just go slowly crazy from watching David Lynch material over and over again.
I actually thought about doing maybe a little at a time, doing watch-alongs with like the episodes. But even then, there's so much to talk about.
Yes,
how do you cram that into just the scope of an episode? But yeah, I love David Lynch. He's my holy trinity of directors, and a little later on we'll get into who I rank as number 1, number 1A, number 1B. But my final.
Oh, look at that one!
Now this is a story in of itself. This is the Real Ghostbusters complete series released on DVD. And if they ever release them on Blu-ray in a set like this, I'll be the first one to get it.
Now, for people who don't know, your love for Ghostbusters and Real Ghostbusters is intense.
If you take a look around my room, there's really only 2 things represented: Friday the 13th and Ghostbusters. Yeah. Those are my things. But yeah, Ghostbusters is everything to me. Now, this set has just, the awesome firehouse aesthetic, and you've got a lenticular Slimer right there, if I can get it into frame.
Yes, we got her.
But inside...
Oh, yes.
You've got a nice booklet about the making of the series. The big thing at the time was this bonus disc. This is the first time that the promotional pilot was made available. And before, they had the characters sort of off model of the actors from the films. They did the promo pilot, so they're a little more in line with their film counterparts. But the cool thing about these individual sets is they're all steel books. So if you had these just on the shelf by themselves, they're just really nice collector pieces. And you've got all the disc in there. And in the
See, now that's something I never got into, is the steel books.
I love steel books.
Yeah.
I kind of look at it this way.
Okay.
Until a comprehensive Criterion-esque Vinegar Syndrome collective version of it, this is like the best just regular version you can get. And even sometimes, I know that Scream Factory has done a lot of Blu-ray steel books as well, so they're just cool. But you get these nice production drawings on the inside. The disc trays. And another big reason why this was a big deal, and this was released by Time Life, who has sort of like been the TV version of Criteria in a lot of ways. And what I mean by that is a lot of older shows will have licensed music in them, and when it comes to releasing them on the disc, they don't want to re-up the rights for those things. So the Beatles in like the Wonder Years, they're not going to pay them an outrageous amount of price. So what Time Life will do is like they'll reacquire all the music to the letter, but then they'll charge it arm and a leg and produce way lower sets to make up the gap. So the story behind how I got this is sort of an interesting thing as well. I'd had a really bad day at work. I came home and there was a package sitting on my doorstep. And I'm like, oh, fuck, man, did I get drunk and order something? Because I had no idea what it was. And I opened it up and I almost cried because like I wanted this so bad. But at the time I just bought a new car and I'm like, I can't justify this because I want to say this was like $400 when it came out. It was pretty pricey. And for the longest time, I could not find out who bought this for me. So it was like this long running mystery. But then come to find out, shout out to Brandy Rogers, an old friend of mine, showing pity, and it's like, man, I've got extra money, I'll buy it for you. I've never been able to repay that kindness, but this will never leave my collection. When I'm dead, it will be burnt so no one else can enjoy it. God damn it, this is mine, and it will go to heaven or hell with me to the next level of ether. But love the show. One of the most popular episodes actually done of Rants, it was a retrospective we did of the series, and we were lucky enough to get Maurice LaMarche, who voiced Egon, to do an introduction for that, and his association alone gave us this big pop in viewership. So that's my top 10 releases, if you want to categorize them, because I could probably go through my collection right now and find 20 different things. It was like, oh, why didn't I include that? But I know we've got some other categories we're going to be discussing, so proceed.
Yes. Favorite movies you discovered in a VHS store?
So I don't have nearly as many VHSs as I do Laserdisc. I had a huge VHS collection at one point. VHS was, the preferred method of viewing as a kid for me. And I grew up at that pinnacle where there was both mom and pop video stores, but also there was the bigger chains. So I feel like I had an even kill of like musical and video taste. But I always tended to go a little bit more on the B side. The things you would find at mom and pop video stores were just more interesting. Mm-hmm. So this is not an endorsement intentionally for Project Louder's show called Ghoulies Unflushed, but this is one of my all-time favorite films. I absolutely love Ghoulies. Little rubber monsters coming out of toilets, biting people's assholes. This is the stuff of just wonderful legend. We did an episode on this way before Ghoulies Unflushed, and I'm ashamed at the levels that that I don't know about this movie, but I've thoroughly enjoyed their show. Shout out to those guys; they do an incredible show. But to me, as a kid, this was both hilarious but also terrifying. Anytime I would go to my grandmother's house, she lived out in the middle of nowhere. And the toilet was upstairs, and my area that I would sleep and stuff was downstairs. And I would have to creep up the creepy stairs in the dark, and I would get to the toilet and I would open it up. I was like, please don't let there be a ghoulie there. Okay, I'm good. But this, objectively, you could probably say that Ghoulies 2 is a better film. Working in a haunted house year round, I certainly have a deeper appreciation for it now. But I love just the satanic panic aspect of this movie. Yes. This is like starter Satanism, you know what I mean? This is the type of thing that, like, when you're like a 13-year-old kid, say, oh yeah, this is dark. This is the dark. Yeah. Ghoulies. This is just a fun picture. Empire Pictures back in the day, they made a lot of movies that I like, and of course they became Full Moon over time. But I also loved my schlocky action films, and we have Steel Justice. Now, if you've never seen this movie, I wouldn't be surprised. This stars Martin Kove, who would be Sensei Kreese in the Karate Kid films, and more recently, Cobra Kai. This is sort of the amalgam between Rambo and Commando, only on a shoestring budget and just a little racist, not so like not cancelable racism, but the type of like 1980s racism that like every action movie kind of, because it plays hard onto like stereotypes, but it's so dumb that you can't help but enjoy it just for the sheer ridiculousness of it.
Exploitation films.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So John Steele, our protagonist, he's a Vietnamese war vet, and during the last days of Vietnam, there's a Vietnamese, I don't know what you would call them, a subsect that has gold, and anyways, they're about to bust them up, and then the war ends, so they have to stop their efforts. So he moves back to America, and it just so happens that all those Vietnamese migrate to this one neighborhood where he lives, and the Vietnamese mafia is just really bad in this suburban town. So they kill his friend and his wife, and so with his coral snake two-step, which if memory serves, two-step, he would throw two-step at you and he would bite you, and then if you took two steps, you'd die. But this is so bad that it turns around back into just being glorious fun. I can't say enough about this, but this is my childhood copy. I bought this at Rose's department store for like $22 back when $22 was a lot of money.
Yeah,
and the fact that it's still in working shape is amazing, because I wore this thing ragged. So, Steel Justice, it sucks.
Hell yeah! So, favorite director in your collection?
This was probably the hardest decision of these to make, because I have my holy trinity. It's Lynch, it's Cronenberg, and it's Carpenter. Mm-hmm. And when I really broke it down, Lynch made Dune, which is not very good, and I also really don't like Inland Empire, and Carpenter also made movies in the late 90s that are less than great. So I had to go with Cronenberg, because I don't think there's a Cronenberg movie that I don't like, and I have quite a few of them. But in particularly, I have a couple here that are just
extra tasty.
Scanners. I still say that this is the best X-Men movie ever made, and I don't think I'm ever going to have my mind changed about that. Another Michael Ironside. He's been a topic of discussion today, but those effects are so amazing, and this is the movie that made me realize that monsters come in all shapes and sizes, because I was sort of a snob as a kid when it came to like horror. And it's like, well, they need a mask or they have to be deformed. And this is a movie where, eventually, like, you get that awesome scene where Daryl Revick's eyes are turning white and he's, veining up and everything. But this is a movie about, even though it's meta humans, I guess you could say, scanners, but this is really about the evils of humans, and this is a better allegory for bigotry and things than a lot of shove it down your throat stuff. But I absolutely love this movie. Canadian films that were made, with subsidies. I don't know how that they managed to get, this level of quality so often, but Cronenberg is just amazing. And then we have Videodrome.
James Woods, baby.
Long live the new flesh. I felt so dirty watching this as a kid, because this is the type of movie that you would put on and your parents would come on and you get in trouble for watching it, even though there's really not a lot of bad.
It's not Crash bad.
Yeah, no. Love Crash, by the way. James Spader. But this was just so fucking weird. And this sort of, like, to me is like the moment where I sort of took to film in a deeper way, because this movie, it has a pretty straightforward narrative, but at the same time, it's one of those where you're trying to figure out, okay, like, well, what's real, what's in the mind. And I got to say, this Criterion Collection is awesome, but it may be the one time where I think the DVD version is actually a little cooler, because the case is bigger and the slipcover is made to look like a beta tape. But because the DVD is bigger and bulkier, it actually looks like a beta tape. It's one of the probably the negative things that sort of dates the movie. Even though a lot of news places still use beta, because evidently it's easier. It's easier to like recycle beta tape than VHS. I'm not entirely sure, but man, this is just such a weird, awesome film. And James Woods burning Debbie Harry with cigarettes, like, I don't really have a fascination with hurting women, and I hope I never do. But there's something so oddly sexual and enticing about it, and it makes you feel weird. And I think that's what's great about film is that it can kind of push you to the edge of something without you going into it, because S&M and sadomasochism is not my thing. Not to open up the book of like my kinks or whatever, but definitely not burning any chicks with cigarettes. Not my cup of tea. But this is a movie that you see women get cracked in the whip in a fleshy TV. This is a weird movie, but I love Cronenberg, and I really hope that this new film that he's working on supposedly gets a release pretty soon, because it's
is it a sequel to the other? Is it a sequel to the other violence film?
I've heard conflicting things.
Okay.
I actually rewatched A History of Violence not long ago, and man, it's so good, especially considering that it was a comic adaptation for something that, not super well known and way ahead of the curve, because that was like 2007. And he's done a history, not History of Violence, Eastern Promises since then, which I really like. I love Viggo Mortensen. I think that combination is just a wonderful one. But I've heard conflicting things because he's one of those people that he kind of gets on a tangent. He's going to do this, and then he loses interest. And plus, the guy, he's a working actor. He just shows up in random Canadian productions just because he has free time. So much love to David Cronenberg. Love your cameo in Jason X.
Yeah, we're getting Scanner Cop this year, aren't we? On Blu-ray?
Oh, are we?
I think we are.
Oh shit! I have Scanners 2 and Scanners 3. The double pack Blu-rays out of print, and I've actually had a couple people offer me
Scream Factory
quite a bit for it. Yeah. But God, I haven't seen Scanner Cop since I was, I don't know, probably like 9 or 10 years old. I had both of them on VHS at one time or another.
I watched 1 and 2 the other day, and I was like, yeah, I want Blu-rays of these. These would be fucking rad.
There's just something about that era of film, especially the B films, because they're unrestricted. They're creative because they have lower budgets, so they have to be. The necessity is the mother of invention, and I love how they had to shoot around certain things, and sometimes it almost creates a style accidentally. Now that's not the case with Cronenberg, just because the guy was and is an amazing. We're
talking spin-off of a low budget horror series.
Yes. But Scanner Cop, it's a great idea for a movie. Yes. A guy who upholds the law and also can blow your head up with his mind powers. It's the movie writes itself. 5 stars. Yes. Brendan says check it out.
So movies you love only based on nostalgia.
Well, this is not exactly a movie.
Okay.
But this was, if you'd asked me when I was 5 years old, this was the greatest thing that was ever in existence. And that would be the California Raisins. Meet the Raisins. This is a Will Vinton short, and I want to say it's like 28 minutes. So this is, was like something they would show on ABC Sunday night or whatever. I am a huge fan of This Is Spinal Tap. It's in my top 10 favorite films of all time. This is the claymation version of that. And I actually rewatched this because I'm like, I wanted to be sure, like, is this as bad as I remember? And it is, and it isn't, because this was like nominated for an Emmy for the claymation and stuff, which is outstanding, and the music is really good. But they're trying to do the whole behind the music, like, oh, they're the biggest band in the world, and they kind of went away for a while, but now they're coming back, and. You're probably a little too young to remember this, but when I was a kid, Hardee's, also known as Carl's Jr., would have these, they're the equivalent of a Happy Meal, and they would release like 100 of these California raisins, and it became like the big thing, like, oh my God, you got to go to Hardee's to get all the California raisins. And now there's probably like 10 tons of plastic in a landfill that's just slightly purple. Yeah. But this is really, really bad. But man, I love it so much. This is a big piece of my childhood that is just like something that is so much of its time, and I don't see this making a comeback anytime soon. I'm sure there have been moments that they have tried to like, let's reboot the California Raisins, and I don't see this taking off ever again. So yeah, best left in the past, but nostalgic memories out the ass.
Rarest film in your collection?
I had a trouble coming up with this one as well because numeric values fluctuate constantly. The reason I came to this decision was because it was just strictly on my mind in the past couple of years. Both Red Letter Media and the Nostalgia Critic have done episodes on this, and it would be the movie Freaked. This is out of print. You're lucky to be able to find a copy of this for under $100. Spoiler alert, because I actually got our mutual buddy Eddie a copy of this on Blu-ray, a bootleg copy, because you just can't find physical copies of this. And I was in a Kmart, which was super rare, just killing time in between work and going home, and they had this, and I vaguely remember seeing this on like HBO or Cinemax as a kid. I pop it in and I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest film that no one has ever seen. Have you seen Freaked?
No. It's my first time hearing about it.
Okay. So you have the creative minds of MTV's Idiot Box. This was directed by Alex Winter, who would be Bill S. Preston, Esquire. Keanu Reeves has a small cameo as Ortiz, the dog boy. But the gist of this movie is that it is about a former child star played by Alex Winter, who is now sort of like the teen heartthrob. And he is unscrupulous. Like he'll take money for whatever because he's just, a vapid, Hollywood type. And there's this company called the Everything Except Shoes Corporation. And they have created this sort of all-purpose chemical called Zygrot 23, I think is what it's called. And he goes to Argentina because it's the only place they can like legally sell it because it's just toxic fuel. But there's a carnival sideshow freak show down there, which is ran by this gentleman right here, Randy Quaid, crazy Randy Quaid, before he went entirely crazy. And he's using this Zygrot stuff to make human freaks. So he creates this let's remove the slipcover and I'll show you some of these wonderful creations here. They're just absolutely amazing.
Oh, wow.
Effects. Screaming Mad George worked on this film.
Okay.
And they let him just run wild here. Right there. That's Ortiz the dog boy, Keanu Reeves. He's in the movie for like 5 minutes because he was a SAG actor and they illegally used him because he was just friends with Alex Winter from Bill and Ted. This right here, that's a Rastafari. It's an eye that speaks Rastafarian. It's just a fun, dumb movie, but this is so creative and kind of a double back to this. There's some really good claymation in this movie. The effects are tremendous. The comedy is sort of similar to like Airplane or Top Secret, those Zucker Abrams movies. Mm-hmm. But I have to say that this is probably the funniest movie that no one ever talks about. If you were to hold a gun to my head and say, what is the funniest movie you've ever seen? The answer would always be Ghostbusters. But if I had a second pick, it would probably be Freak. So I don't think this is even streaming anywhere. And it's surprising because this was a Fox film. So technically Disney owns this now. So it'll probably never get an actual release. It's kind of sad. But Freaked, if you can find it, I would highly check it out. I'll see if I can rip you a copy. I'll send you because this needs to be seen.
Yes. Worst film.
Okay. How do you categorize bad? Because I have movies from A to Z that are so good.
You can't even stand to watch it.
Well, I own this, but I refuse to buy an actual copy of it. This was a flea market buy, bootleg, Garbage Pail Kids, the movie.
Okay,
another film that has really interesting special effects. A lot of little people in animatronic suits that are a lot better than this film should be. And if you'd asked me at age 5, 6, I would have told you that this is the equivalent of Citizen Kane or, The Last Rose of Cairo. But this is one of the worst films ever made in every sense of the word. The acting is so bad. It has a subplot about this kid right here who becomes a fashion designer, and with the help of the Garbage Pail Kids, he creates a bunch of clothes for an older girl that he wants to have sex with. But this is like a kid's movie. So there's some weird crossing the lines of like, who are you making this for? The only redeeming quality I can say about this actual copy is that they went and they scanned in all of the Topps cards, because Garbage Pail Kids started out as a trading card series.
Yes.
And, they had the novel idea of like taking sort of pop culture things and changing the names slightly and making them just gross. And it was sort of a spoof of Cabbage Patch Kids, which were absolutely huge in the 1980s. But this was the sort of the boy equivalent. It's gross. But this movie came out way past the relevance, so there wasn't an audience for it. And even if there had been, the script is so fucking bad that I would be hard pressed. If you held a gun to my head right now, I'd have to have a few shots in me before I could watch this. I might be begging for the bullet, so to speak. But yeah, this is by far the worst movie I own. Garbage Pail Kids, the movie. Avoid at all costs.
Fucking A. So, final question. What is your favorite podcasting network?
ProjectLouder.net with a fucking landslide. Now, I was involved, I won't name who, with another podcasting network previously, and nope. Not night and day, man. Project Louder has given me so many opportunities, and the big thing is that Rants is going 100% in.
Yes.
We're giving our feed over June 1st, brand new episode. We'll get a retrospective for Mayhem, the Joe Lynch film coming up, and then we're going to be launching a new series. So we'll have 2 episodes a month, and the second episode will be randomly chosen with our spinny wheel app of 10 films that we have chosen, 5 for me and 5 for my co-host Fat Tony, and we're just going to do like a watch along. So it'll be just a little extra content to hopefully lessen the blow for those of our existing subscribers, since they have to go and re-click a couple of times. But we're hoping that everybody will jump aboard, and for those of you who do, we're very appreciative, and for those of you who don't, we hope that we'll be able to gain that subscription over time with quality content and the connections we have at Project Louder. Sky's the limit.
Absolutely. And we can't wait to have that switch over and everything. I believe Juicy Kruger now redirects you to us.
It does. JuicyKruger.com directs you directly to our specific page on ProjectLouder.net. You can also check out some of our merchandise at RantArmy.com. Follow us on Twitter at RantsBlackLodge. Follow our other podcast, Wrestling Ruined, at Wrestling Ruined. We're doing really well. Last count, 12,000 subscribers. Man, mind blowing. Very happy. So everything's cool. Everything's great. We're so glad to be part of Project Louder. And I thank you so much for having me on the podcast. This is a fun little interaction. Next time you should show me your collection, because you've got a lot of great stuff behind you. So
we'll have to. Well, thank you, man. Thank you for coming on. And yes, it has been fun. And one day we'll have to swap seats, and I'll do the same for you. And thank you for coming on the first episode of season 2 of the Power Hour. Woo! And until next week, everybody. See you later. This is your host with the motherfucking most, signing off.